team had to beat USC and UCLA in the NCAA tournament before winning the national championship on Sunday. It was still a marvelous season for the USC and UCLA programs. Both teams were in the top 5 most of the season and put LA on the map in women's college basketball. UCLA was ranked number 1 in the nation for 14 weeks. USC and UCLA finished the season with a combined 65-7 record. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everyone is running from the truth. We just stand up and fight, walk into the night. We're the people, we can do it if we try. I know we can do it. Somebody asked me, why do we have to go through it? It's just a test of our faith, but we're living day to day. We don't know where, we don't know when, but it's coming back again. Oh, yes, it is. It's leading me. Oh, God, it's time for you to return. Oh, Lord, see. I know.
Oh, yeah, it's that time again. Time to make that change. We count it all joy that you are here with us today on a Truth Time. So much to cover. So we know the tariff war is on, retaliatory tariffs on China, and then China retaliating on us, and back and forth and back and forth. And what really happens to the everyday working people of this country and other people's countries, for that matter, if they get trampled upon because you got leaders who want to retaliate on one another, holding people's lives and livelihoods in the balance. And my God, the National Park Service removed all evidence or historically factual evidence of the Underground Railroad with sister, the Moses of her people, Harriet Tubman. They got this, it ain't even sanitized, Doc. This is a flat out lie about what has happened in America's history. And so what's going to happen to us when we have people writing revisionist history, when they don't even want the truth about this country to be told? And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. We got to take it all. And understanding that Black history, or the history of African Americans in this country, is America's history. Once they start to erase Black folks, then all the other groups, all other marginalized groups fall into play as well. God, this is just absolutely stunning. You know, first it was Jackie Robinson. Now it's the Moses of her people, Harriet Tubman. We're going to talk about that and so much more. Oh, and by the way, and Doc, you're probably going to jump in on this. You know, we had a 14-year-old Palestinian American killed by Israeli forces. We have some elected leaders in Congress saying a mumbling word, very, very few. But what happened to America first, Doc? What happened to America first that we're going to allow a foreign nation to kill? It's bad enough in our name that these bombs are being dropped, but flat out kill an American citizen, and very few people of note, of power, political power, I shouldn't say of note, say a mumbling word. So, Doc, I know that is a lot for us to get to today, but before we go anywhere, we want to know what is on your heart, your soul, and your mind on this day.
Well, you know, it's a blessing to be with you. Always a joy.
Always.
Thinking about these last few days, I was blessed to be there in Memphis, wrestling with the legacy of the great Martin Luther King Jr. at the magnificent National Civil Rights Museum. I was at the high school, at Mace High School, Lemoyne on the Black College there, and then made my way to Howard University, where I was blessed to preach yesterday. And when I think of your words, I think of what we were coming to terms with these last 2 days, and that is the expansion of the gangsterization of the country and the world under the Trump administration. And what that means at home for Black people is the expansion of the niggerization of Black people. Because gangsterization is about fear and using fear as strategy and empathy as enemy. So anybody who loves their neighbor is going to be an enemy because you're going to be against the ways in which gangsters attempt to create a world in which it's only about the survival of the slickest and the richest. And niggerization is a form of gangsterization because it's not just a matter of keeping the fear inside of us and trying to convince us to hate ourselves and that we're less beautiful and less moral and less intelligent. But it's also a matter of trying to ensure that we cannot come together with bonds of trust and enough solidarity and unity that we constitute a fundamental opposition, if not threat, to their gangsterization. And part of the history of Black people at our best has always been that we've tried to de-niggerize each other. And of course, as a Christian, Jesus is in the de-niggerizing business. He takes the fear out of you. He takes the nigger out of you. He takes the inferiority complex out of you and frees you up to be a force for a beloved community, for a kingdom of God. And democracy is a de-gangsterizing activity. If you can't de-gangsterize your society, you're not going to have democracy. Now, America began with gangsterization and niggerization. There's no doubt about that. But they created some moments of interruption so that democratic practices became possible and you could intensify them and expand them. And of course, barbaric white supremacist slavery tried to de-niggerize us in the most ugly way. And what did we do? We didn't just resist. We were resilient. We survived. We still here. That's a spiritual achievement in and of itself, that Black people still here in their right minds, at least most of the time. And so framework of understanding what's happening economically, politically, socially, is keeping track of these forms of gangsterization, and for Black people, keeping track of the ways in which to whitewash the history, to erase Sister Harriet Tubman and so many others, is an attempt to make us think that somehow we're not the creative, courageous, visionary human beings that we are at our best.
Yeah, no, we're all of that. That is a whole lot for folks to wrap their minds around. De-niggerization, empathy as enemy, and what is happening right now is the survival of the slickest and the richest. And that democracy is the de-gangsterizing of society and those moments of interruption. Dot, I don't know. Listen, all of you who joined us, if you were here from the beginning and you just joined in now, baby, that is a lot to wrap your mind around. We want you to do a whole lot of rapping. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation.
Speaking truth to power. And to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving Black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% Black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of Black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of Black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall, the Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting, on Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Swar, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate Day 100 since the wildfires flared up, and we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 Days and Counting Town Hall, Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. The first 100 attendees will receive a complimentary air purifier. This is a community call to action, brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black flag.
Can your pad absorb everything and stay fresh? Always Radiant with Flex Foam can. Get up to 0 leaks, 0 odor, and 0 feel, because Flex Foam is the only pad with a flexible foam core. You heard me, foam. Always Radiant is so thin, it feels like nothing, yet protects like nothing else. Can your pad do that? For up to 100% leak-free protection, try Always Radiant to see what Flex Foam can do for you.
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Many thanks to everyone who's come forward with us. If you are just joining us, welcome. If you missed any part of not only today's show, but any of our previous show, please make sure you download the KBLA Talk 1580 app. You want to do that, and then wherever you get your podcast, you can check us out. So, Doc, you were laying it down. I love democracy is the de-gangsterization of a society, and certainly democracy is never a destination. I mean, you got to, in other words, you got to keep fighting to hold it and to make it better, so it's never a final destination. And that's what I mean in that regard. And we're seeing this in real time in our lifetimes. And certainly several other generations that are still walking the face of earth previous have seen these ebbs and flows when it comes to trying to hold a democracy together. And then the survival of the slickest and the richest. That is exactly what is going on in this country and just worldwide, because there's worldwide oligarchs who sing the same song. They sitting in the same pews, singing from the same hymnal. And that is all about them and the hell with everybody else. Like, there was a 14-year-old Palestinian American from North Jersey shot and killed in the West Bank. You have Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman, who is a representative from New Jersey, and she posted this on social media. This is an atrocity. Ammar was 14 years old. He was an American citizen from Saddlebrook, New Jersey. How can the Israeli military possibly justify shooting and killing an American teenager in cold blood? The U.S. must step in and stop this madness. So, of course, Dr. Representative, again, Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman is one of very few currently elected officials in that Congress to speak up and to speak out about what happened to this 14-year-old. We know that Representative Rashida Tlaib always rocking hard, sometimes rocking the hardest by herself. But this calls into question, at least in my mind, the notions of Trump saying America first, you know, and some killings of Americans happened under Biden too. So it does call into question, because I know that President Biden said something to this extent. This might not be his exact words, but, you know, if any hair on the head of an American is touched, then people gonna have there will be some consequences and repercussions. Now, I'm paraphrasing him, but that's what any country in the world, Americans everywhere are supposed to feel a certain type of safety and to know that their government is going to come to their rescue. But here we are, a 14-year-old killed. We've had American journalists killed. We have others killed. And that's not even including the innocent lives of the Palestinians. I'm not qualifying lives. What I am saying, that being an American is supposed to come with some extra on it. But in this case, nothing.
No, the America First movement that goes back with its neo-Nazi roots in the 1930s. Henry Ford himself was a fundamental force in that movement. You remember Henry Ford went to Germany in 1938. The Adolf Hitler medal.
Yeah.
And he was proud of it because he was a major hater of Jews, even though he was one of the richest folk in America, and of course, facilitated those workers, but including the black, but exploiting those workers in a vicious way. Certainly here, America First, what you really should hear is certain Americans up first. Not all. No. You look at the attitude toward the stock market. The stock market is humanized. They treat the stock market like it's a human being. You got to be highly sensitive. But when poor and working people, when black people, when immigrants, when vulnerable people come along, they are either demonized or dehumanized. So that about this precious Palestinian child who's from the New Jersey, basically here in Harlem. It's very clear that them being Palestinian means now, even being an American and all the American first language is empty, it's vacuous. Them being Palestinian don't count, just like the other 22,000 babies and kids who have been killed by the Israeli Defense Forces don't count the Trump administration or the Democratic Party administration. It doesn't make any difference which party's in there.
That's right.
Do not count. The anti-Palestinian racism that cuts so deep in Washington, cuts so deep in the Congress. It's interesting to hear our dear sister from Congress saying this is an atrocity when it's a Palestinian American, but it's not an atrocity when it's a Palestinian. What kind of morality is at work there?
Yeah. Is that plus? I mean, it's what she's saying is true, and it's true about Palestinian that are not American.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, so that you can just see again. This is what I mean by gangsterization. You see, you think that people think they can get away with anything and act as if they're talking about freedom and really mean domination. Act as if they're talking about love and really mean hate. They flip things upside down and think that people don't see through their hypocrisy. Well, truth time, Tabitha Smiley, Radio Talk 1580. We gonna lay bare the hypocrisy. We're gonna keep the love in. We're gonna lay bare the hypocrisy, and we're gonna continue to keep swinging with our voices, with our bodies, in light of the traditions from which we come.
Yeah, and both go together, Doc. You critique and criticize that which you love. I mean, there's a love. I remember a quote from our brother James Baldwin, the great James Baldwin, and I think he said something to the fact that I love this country more than any other country, on the face of the earth. Again, it's not an exact quote, but I reserve the right, and because of that love, I reserve the right to critique it perpetually, like over and over again. And it is because of that love, because I want this country to do better and to be better. And that is the same on Truth Time. That is the same on KBLA Talk 1580. Unapologetically progressive, letting you know how this is going down. So the point, Dr. West, that you're making, that we are making, that we want the people who are listening or watching and listening to us to understand that humanity doesn't put qualifiers on a life, that all lives are important.
That's right.
The extra point here is, though, given the rules of engagement, I put up air quotes, if being an American is somehow supposed to separate you, elevate you from the rest in terms of whether or not your nation, your country will criticize, critique, snatch up, as my mama would do or grandmama would do, snatch up another nation for doing this to one of its citizens, then it's empty. Like it don't matter because he was not, you're right, he was not the right type of American. And so we should question whether any of us could find ourselves in a vulnerable position of not being the right type of American. Certainly historically, and even to this very day, Black folks have some experience with not being the right type of American.
That's true. And what that does is simply show the immorality is so pervasive when it comes to vulnerable like Black people, when it comes to brown immigrants and so forth. And on the other hand, it shows how we are able to be morally consistent. So we shed tears for the Palestinian American shot. We shed tears for the Palestinian who was shot. We shed tears for any human being who is shot, because
the Jewish people who were shot innocently on October the 7th, same thing.
You're concerned about innocent folk, whoever they are, brown, young, Jewish, Catholic, Hindu, or whatever. But when you have a history of institutionalizing the killing and murdering of innocent folk, as you do in Israeli occupation, then you got structures and institutions that are doing that. See, we see the same thing, of course, with the Armenians and Jews and Germans, Muslims and places around the world. It's a human thing all the way down. We have to be against all of this narrow tribalism that loses sight of the dignity and the sanctity of human beings as human beings. But when it comes to Democrats or Republicans vis-a-vis Palestinians, one thing you know for sure, they don't give a damn about Palestinians.
No, it's clear. And I've been on several shows, mainstream media where some of the other commentators and even this current president, and hell, the last president might as well have done it, but they used the term Palestinian as a slur. That's become the norm now. And you're looking at folks saying, are you out of your mind? Because you have got to be out of your mind to totally disregard another group of people's humanity. But again, as Black Americans, we understand that from lived experience and the lived experiences of our grandparents and our great-grandparents and our great-great-grandparents and so on and so on and so on, a lived experience that marks us to this very day. I mean, but my heart, I know our heart goes out to his family, and his friends. This just
has Cory Booker said a word? Has the Black Congressional Caucus said a word? So even being Black is enough to have enough courage to be in solidarity with other folk who are being murdered when they're unpopular, like Palestinians. So we got Black folk who don't have courage to be true to the best of their Black freedom tradition. You see, that's also upsetting.
I saw deeply on that, Doc. I will say, as of this moment on Truth Time on Monday afternoon, almost 3:30 on the East Coast, those people that you named and the caucus that you enumerated has not, I repeat, as of this moment on April the 7th, they have not said a mumbling word. But yeah, let us go ahead and go off and give Senator Cory Bush all the credit he deserves for breaking Strom Thurmond's racist filibuster. Now Senator Booker is on record as having the longest floor speech on the Senate floor in America's history so far. However, on the other side of that, he has received almost $1 million from AIPAC.
Oh,
so that might.
Right after, didn't he vote to authorize more money and more military equipment? It could have been another American bullet going into the Palestinian American.
Yes, he did, Doc. Yes, he did. So I mean, it's symbolic, but not sufficient. I think it's something the way you say it. So the speech was symbolic. is not sufficient when you, on the other hand, do what you did just not even days later. I mean, right after, and to this moment has not said anything. There's still a chance, Doc. That's what I'm saying. As of April 7th, 3:27 p.m. East Coast time, there's still the opportunity for that Black caucus to stand up and speak out for humanity, and for Senator Cory Booker himself to reject, join Congresswoman Watson Coleman, in calling this out.
That's real. That's real. We always open to people changing. We give due.
Yeah.
When people do something courageous in a certain context, but we're critical when they get to another context and become just as cowardly as the very folk they criticize. Because this is genocide we're talking about.
Yeah, we are. And this is deeper than breaking a record. Again, the symbol of it, you and I last week gave him his credit. Now we moving on. We moving on. Okay. We gave him his credit, but we moving on. This is deeper than breaking the record of some segregationalists on the U.S. Senate floor, in my mind.
Oh, no, I think you're right. I think you're right. And in Fannie Lou Hamer's mind, and Martin King's mind, and Malcolm X's mind, and Ella Baker's mind.
Yeah. Yes. Marcus Garvey, Roberta Flack, let's name them.
Curtis Mayfield, Gil Scott Heron, Nina Simone. We can go down the list of those who standards for us. And they were not deities or gods either. They had their own faults and foibles. They were cracked vessels. But oh, what courage, what love, what vision.
Yes. We are all cracked vessels, Doc. And you and I, we always make sure we let people know.
Cracked vessels trying to love our crooked neighbors with our crooked hearts.
That's it. That's what we do on Truth Time. They say confession is good for the soul. We confess them first before we start messing with somebody else. We got to confess some stuff. In the scripture, it says, pull the mote out of your eye before you start pulling out one out of somebody else's. But we just laying this out. Yes, we are. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will continue.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not jiving you, baby.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The U.S. Department of Education is warning public schools they could lose federal funding if they keep DEI programs. That includes Title I money, which supports low-income schools, meals, and early education. The Trump administration is revoking visas for South Sudanese nationals, citing the African country's refusal to accept deportees. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says future visas will also be denied. Thousands rallied in Baltimore over the weekend to protest President Trump's agenda and Elon Musk-led Doge cuts. The Free State Coalition says the energy was powerful, with leaders like Black Rep Kwesi Mfume and Senator Chris Van Hollen speaking out. And the IRS is cutting 25% of its staff, starting with 130 workers in the Civil Rights and Compliance Office. Remaining employees are being reassigned as more layoffs loom. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Mookie Betts, the only African-American player on the Dodgers roster, joined his teammates Monday morning at the White House for a celebration with President Trump. Trump invited the Dodgers to honor the team for their World Series championship last season. When the invitation was extended to the Dodgers in March, Betts said he was undecided if he would attend the ceremony. During Trump's first term in 2019, Betts boycotted a White House visit with the Boston Red Sox after they won the World Series. Betts said he joined his teammates Monday morning because he did not want to be a distraction. During the 20-minute ceremony, Dodgers pitcher Clayton Kershaw gave Trump a Dodgers jersey with the number 47. The Dodgers White House visit drew mixed reactions from Dodgers fans because of Trump's controversial policies affecting minorities around the country. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
At Providence, health equity is the foundation of our community health initiatives, ensuring care reaches those who need it most. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in America. African Americans face a higher risk of life-threatening issues like hypertension, the number one cause of stroke. 55% of Black adults have high blood pressure. The good news is 80% of heart disease is preventable with healthy lifestyle changes and patient-centered care provided by the Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. From routine screenings to advanced procedures, Providence provides comprehensive care for the heart conditions that overly impact our community by ensuring patients receive treatments tailored to their needs. Let's stop the trend of being 30% more likely to die from heart-related problems. Take charge of your heart health with world-class cardiologists who deliver the compassionate care you deserve. Visit providence.org/SoCalHeart. That's providence.org/SoCalHeart to request an appointment.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready? Drop it! Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
I'm back.
Sorry about that, y'all. I always put on mute when we go on this commercial break. But democracy, as Dr. West described it early on, is the de-gangsterizing of a society. And boy, do we got a whole bunch of gangsterism going on right now. Not the first time, but we are feeling it, something tough. The survival of the slickest and the richest. Doc, you was just kicking that knowledge. For those of you who have been with us, thank you so much. If you are just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you want to catch the beginning of the show, make sure you download the KBLA Talk app. Do that. And you can listen to any past shows wherever you get your podcast. So, Doc, we were talking about the 14-year-old Palestinian American who was murdered in the West Bank. Very few elected officials are saying a mumbling word. You got Congresswoman Watson Coleman, who represents New Jersey, speaking up, calling it it an atrocity and saying that the government, the United States, must put a stop to it. So we'll see what happens there. We're also analyzing where's the Black Caucus, hell, where's the Hispanic Caucus, where's the Progressive Caucus, Doc? Where are all these caucuses?
Ooh, all of these caucuses. What they caucusing about when you got a precious Palestinian American brother shot down like that, and they have to go off the corner and strategize with their tactics to come up with their voice?
Yep, that's it.
Where's the integrity? Where's the moral fiber?
It's not there. So that means we're going to have it. So speaking of the greater we know that on April the 5th, millions of people took to the streets in all 50 states across this country, hands off, people standing up side by side, generationally, all types of people identifying all types of ways in this country, coming together to protest against what is happening in the Trump administration and also protesting the co-president, Elon Musk, Doc. It was quite a sight to see. I don't think there's been that big of a mass gathering since the Black Lives Matter gathering.
I think you're right about that. And it is a beautiful thing to see. And it's a huge and broad coalition. I mean, I identify with the refuse fascism element of it, which tend to be more of the truth tellers that connect the dots. Because you got a lot of elected officials, who became the leaders of these, who gave the speeches and so forth and so on, because they are able to mobilize much broader number of fellow citizens. And we need a broad coalition. I mean, an anti-coalition has to be broad. You're going to have liberals, you're going to have neoliberals, you're going to have moderates, you're going to have centrists, you're going to have radicals, you're going to have Christians, you're going to have Muslims, you're going to have Jews, you're going to have Catholics and so forth. But all of those, with each coalition, different streams and strands in it. And I like the ones who connect the dots. You got to connect what's going on in South Los Angeles with what's going on Wall Street, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in Haiti. Because the gangsterization that's taking place is a global affair.
That's right.
American empire. And inside of the American empire is keep us afraid, keep us scared.
Yeah, it's the fear factor. They're ruling by fear. I mean, speaking of that document, we look, the Dow has dropped over 1,200 points and the global markets are tumbling. I mean, this is a very real example. People don't quite understand that none of us are an island to ourselves. So whether it's familiar, whether it's communal, like just your immediate community, whether it's your city, your state, nation, and the world, somehow we are all connected. And what is happening on the stock market, and as you laid out, Dr. Stock market is been humanized, been given human qualities. What happens to her impacts not just the people of the United States of America, but the entire world. So global markets are going crazy. Now, let me give our audience some other fact patterns here. So the Dow drops, the markets are going crazy. The top 1% own 50% of all stocks. The top 1% own 50% of all stocks, and the bottom 50% own 1% of all stocks.
That's what we're talking about.
That's that greed. That's that gangsterization you're talking about, Doc. And that's not just for today in terms of what's happening and what Trump is doing. This is the reality of America. This is the reality of the second phase of the Gilded Age, as Dr. Robert Reich, former labor secretary under President Bill Clinton, continues to remind us. If you guys want a quick primer on the economy and what's happening right now, please make sure you follow Dr. Robert Reich on, Facebook. You can catch him on the gram or on Twitter, Sky, all of that. Doc. Blue Sky. He breaks it down in bite size, so that everybody can understand what's happening.
No, absolutely. Then you got 3 individuals, all of them sitting behind Trump at Trump's inauguration. 3 individuals who have wealth equivalent to the bottom 50% of the whole country. You see, that's a level of grotesque wealth inequality that is worse than the medieval period in Europe with the kings and monarchs and suzerains. That's what we're dealing with in America. It's a sick country. We live in a sick country, profoundly sick. Now, there's a sense in which it's always been sick, but it's getting sicker all the time. And therefore, part of the sickness is within us in terms of us having to fight what they're trying to instill in us. And we push it back internally, and we have solidarity externally, and we continue to raise our voices. We continue to fight, and we continue to preserve our joy.
Yeah, we do. And that's what Hands Off was about. Kudos to the organizers. And I know there's some dialogue, Dr. West, within the Black community, or whether or not Black folks should sit out some of these. One rationale is because when the law comes down, it will come down harder on Black people. And I've been in some circles where some Black people believe that's what the Trump administration wants, so they can really start knocking heads. And we certainly understand what that means from a Black experience context. So that's one. The other one is the notion that Black people tried to warn the rest of America, i.e. white America, let's just put it where it belongs, and that, you know what, we sitting down because we tried to tell y'all, and y'all got to get out there to do it. So that's another. And then there's another where Black folks are saying, I'm still going to be out there anyway. You know, so there's some validity to all of the various entry points regarding what is happening right now in this country. But millions of people came out, and Doc, what I want to see attached to that, now what? You know, they came out because protest is a symbol of we not happy.
That's right.
Now we got to take the symbol a little further and give people some actions that they can take to fuel them for this long fight.
That's exactly right. No, I don't think one can ever just pull back, because what motivates one is a deep love for Letitia and Shaniqua, Ray and Bay Bruh, a deep love for all of the love that's been poured into us and the people who are poured into us. So no matter what the past has been, or no matter how sick or empty large numbers of white folk are, they're not our point of reference. They're not our court of appeal. We on the chocolate side of town because we love our people. And when you love people in that way, of course, follower of Jesus of Nazareth, you end up loving poor people, working people across the board, and you end up trying to love everybody. So that your strategy and your tactic is not connected to just what white folk are doing.
Or do not do. That's the point, Doc. And there were a lot of white Americans who are out there saying we're going to carry it because we should be carrying more of the burden. So it's the mix, you know, the vibe. And there's a little kernel of truth to all of that. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. When we come forward, we will continue to talk about Hands Off. And also we will talk about Harriet Tubman.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Dominique DePrima, and it's almost time to celebrate KBLA's 4th anniversary, coming up Juneteenth 2025. We'll be marking the achievement with 4 key community events, including a special symposium, luncheon, and brain trust hosted by me entitled The State of Black Women in Los Angeles. Keep it locked here for details on how to join us for this groundbreaking symposium examining the unique challenges, triumphs, and contributions of Black women in Los Angeles in the areas of education, healthcare, community leadership, cultural and political contributions. This public convocation will provide a critical forum to address the specific social, economic, and political realities facing Black women in LA today. We'll go live with a radio broadcast and YouTube live stream, a public discussion, and a private dialogue with some of LA's most impactful women. It's an affirmation of Black women standing at the intersection of race and gender in times of adversity while demonstrating remarkable resilience and leadership. We will listen and we will speak out and be heard, all in service of finding opportunities and solutions. Please plan to join us in celebrating our 4th anniversary by amplifying the voices of Black women. For more on our symposium and 4 events celebrating 4 years on the air, simply stay tuned or keep an eye on KBLA1580.com and help make this Juneteenth more jubilant with all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
After producing an award-winning climate justice campaign in 2024, KBLA Talk 1580 has gone all in on its 2025 Climate Justice plus Black Health Initiative. April is Minority Health Month, and Urban Family Focus, in partnership with Providence Health Systems, presents The Heart of the Matter. Providence doctors and health equity officers will participate in informative and life-changing conversations on hypertension, health equity, behavioral health, and community engagement. Don't miss these empowering conversations on Urban Family Focus every Saturday in April at 7 and Sunday at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Sponsored by Providence, Southern California's largest and most comprehensive healthcare network. We've got a lot to talk about on KBLA Talk 1580. Download the KBLA 1580 app or log in to KBLA1580.com. I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. On KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, you are. Made sure I wasn't on mute this time, Doctor. So I want to get straight to our chat, as some folks are responding to things that we have said earlier. We got Sister Shayla Johnson in the house, and I believe she was looking up the word niggerization. She said, wow, I just looked it up, and it used to refer to a stupid person. Now it just says it's a slur for Black people. I just can't with our society lately. So much ignorance and willful at that. Sister Johnson goes on to say, we are the right type to do all the work, but not the right type to get any of the credit. We are the right type to show empathy, but not to receive any. Why can't we just all be called humans?
That's what we're talking about on Truth Time. She got the fundamental message.
Yeah, she does.
We talking at a level that goes beyond the dictionary.
Yeah.
There's really very, very truncated minds that give you a little slice of information. We got the whole context with all the different dimensions of niggerization. It ain't just to saying that we stupid. They saying we less beautiful than other people. Intelligent than other people. They don't have that in the dictionary. They saying we less moral when we've been the moral of the gangsterized America. They don't have that in the dictionary. So nothing wrong with going to the dictionary, but just know you're going to get some deodorized stuff, but we keep it funky on time, on Truth Time.
Yeah, we do, Doc. And thanks for laying out. And I always love how you, and this was something that Brother Marcus Garvey was very good at. Not only did he encourage Black people to have courage, he also encouraged them to recognize their intellect and their beauty.
Yes.
You know, it's just something just very powerful about saying to Black people, you are beautiful, because of how the Eurocentric worldview has not just tried to erase it, but just vilified everything about Blackness. And then you fast forward to 21st century and people buying the stuff that we was born with. But I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. I'm gonna just go. I'm gonna say, they giving other folks, women, credit for what, most Black women just bring to the table naturally. But I'm gonna park that. I'm gonna park that, Doc. So Truth Bearer, that speech is nice. Now he's referring to Senator Cory Booker, excuse me. That speech is a nice record, but what did it accomplish? Doc, that's what you were saying the whole time.
Exactly right. I'm glad he broke the record, but what did he say and not say? And after the speech, what did he vote for? More genocide? What did he vote for?
That part, like, where is it gonna take us? So that's coming from Truth Bearer. Thanks, Truth Bearer. Truth Bearer on Truth Time. Truth Bearer goes on to say he can't run on that filibuster in 2028 as far as we're concerned. So
Ooh, that's it. They're making that jump to the presidential.
Yeah, they did. True Bear, we see what you just did right there. Now, I'm also going to say for the record, it technically was not a filibuster. I'm not just saying this for Truth Bear. I want to educate people. He is on record as giving the longest speech. Filibuster usually goes to block legislation or to block a nominee. He was doing neither. However, he took latch of a rule within the Senate that he was able to use to give the longest speech. But I'm with you, brother or sister Truth Bear. You made that known. We got Lauren who. Hello, my beautiful people. True Bear is back, Doc. He said Dr. West got bars on bars on bars. Yes, yes, he does. Yes, he does. We got B Bell of Bad Dog Bullies, which I love every time I get tickled to say that. Good afternoon, true warriors. We got brother Morris Phillips in the house. Got love for you, Dr. West, and Senator Turner. And he also goes on to say, Uncle Sam loves him some despair. That's a point that, and you make points about how this country operates and rolls systemically, not the beautiful people of this nation, but how what's the rhythm of the United States of America?
Well, because it's so tied to short-term profit and overnight solutions and push button success, it doesn't deal with the long run too well. With the long run, you self-destruction.
Yeah. And that's kind of hard, I think, for most Americans to wrap their minds around, really.
It's true.
Brother Phillips goes on to say that Big Pharma loved them some. Senator Cory Booker. Big Pharma loves a whole lot of them, Doc. That's part of the problem. We need to get dark money and corporate money out of politics. That's Citizens United. So whatever great things we're trying to accomplish in this representative democracy continues to be blocked by the big money, by the dark money, by corporate interests. And we need campaign finance reform.
That's exactly right. You got those big lobbies, whoever they are, and they affect politicians of whatever color. It could be big pharmacy, it could be the NRA, it could be APEC, it could be any big lobby that is trying to disproportionately influence politicians, even given the small sizes of the social base. You see, these are not organizations that have a majority of people on their side.
That's right.
The majority want universal health care. That's been true for decades. Doesn't make any difference if big money's in there to push it back.
Yeah, that's true. And that has been the story of America, and there are few politicians who recognize that and do something about it, both in our time, for example, not taking corporate money. Even FDR told him, I welcome your hatred, as he tried to push through, even with his flaws. The New Deal was flawed and all of that. Even with that, what he did recognize, even though he was among the ultra wealthy, is that the system was not working. He had a vision for what we would call the economic Bill of Rights, stemming from the Great Depression, also stemming from World War II, and recognizing that the American people needed more than the 10 Bill of Rights as they exist right now, that they needed an economic Bill of Rights. And what group or groups of people got in the way of all of that? It was the same groups and groups of people that we're talking about right now. The same force.
That's so true.
The same energy. Let me get a couple of others. Say Senator Cory Booker's speech started a continuous conversation, I believe inspired a youngster out there to be in politics. Maybe, certainly.
That's fine. That the Lord uses people in a whole lot of different ways. We don't think we have full control over all the ways in which Brother Cory's impact will be. That's absolutely right. We simply speak the truth from our own hearts in light of the kind of votes that Cory puts forward, or the kind of actions that he himself is responsible for.
Yeah, and that's coming from Metaverse Monty. So yeah, we respect and appreciate that. So that this, the wiping away of Black history has been a staple with this administration. They don't really care how they do it. So the National Park Service erasing the references to the Underground Railroad, which was led by none other, the Moses of her people, Harriet Tubman, certainly did not do it all by herself. The Underground Railroad was a network of folks of good consciousness and courage, because all of them were putting their lives on the line to do this. But now all of a sudden, it is not worthy of being talked about. And the federal government, i.e. the Trump administration, they are erasing it, Doc, and sanitizing it.
Lord. She was also the first woman to ever lead a military operation in the history of the country when she freed 700 enslaved, dignified Africans who they tried to niggerize at that time at the Combahee Ferry. And I guess they're going to whitewash that too. Here she's in the Union Army. She's leading the operation, once again, risking her life. I guess they're going to whitewash that too. I mean, the lies on top of lies on top of lies, hiding crimes, just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, and she was a spy. I mean, she was a spy for the, oh Lord, for the Union Army. So this is what is National Park Service just edited its Underground Railroad page. And folks, I double dare you to go, downplaying Harriet Tubman and slavery. Tubman, as Dr. West laid out, escaped slavery and led hundreds to freedom over a network called the Underground Railroad. The page used to say, and I quote, the Underground Railroad refers to the efforts of enslaved African Americans to gain their freedom by escaping bondage. Even that was kind of light, but that's what it used to say. Now it says, now it calls the Underground Railroad, quote, one of the most significant expressions of the American Civil Rights Movement without mentioning slavery. Now, how does one do that? How do you do that?
Lord. People who believe that lies are the best of how they see and act. But chickens come home to roost. Truth crushed to earth will rise again.
That's it. It shall rise again. Look, we want to encourage everybody. We, in the face of this government just degradation, just cutting out the fat, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. We have got to educate ourselves. We have got to educate our children. We got to go communal on this. We cannot allow this to stand. Doc is right. But truth crushed to the earth will rise again. And you know what? This ain't going to be always. So as the African proverb says, one must never build their shield on the battlefield. And baby, is it shield building time. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. Lord have mercy. Live on purpose. And remember, titles are good, but purpose is better.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. The U.S. Department of Education is warning public schools they could lose federal funding if they keep